Stan Minton is a real estate agent living in Los Angeles with what seems like a perfect life. He's filthy rich and deeply in love with his beautiful wife, Mindy. Stan has a unique way of selling properties, but his methods involve scamming clients out of small amounts of money. Over time, these fraudulent tactics add up, and one day, Stan is arrested for first-degree fraud. After being found guilty, Stan learns he's facing a minimum of 3 years in prison. Desperate, he asks his lawyer to bribe the judge. The lawyer tries, but the best deal they can get is a 6-month delay before Stan has to start serving his sentence. To make it seem legitimate, they fake a charity event, but the guilty verdict stands firm. After the trial, Stan's lawyer advises him to flee to Brazil and never come back. But with his assets frozen, Stan has no way to leave the country. He's forced to wait for his imprisonment, consumed by fear and regret. As the days pass, he grows more anxious, rushing to make the most of his remaining time. One evening, during a date with Mindy, she suggests they have a child, so she won't feel alone while he's gone. Stan dismisses the idea, worried that they might have to give the child up for adoption if something happens to him in prison. His response creates tension, and Mindy storms off, leaving Stan feeling guilty and lost. Distraught, Stan goes for a drive and ends up at a bar. While drinking, he spots a man with a prison tattoo and offers him $100 for advice about surviving prison. The man paints a grim picture. Prison guards don't care about inmate violence or deaths as long as no one escapes. He warns Stan that someone like him will likely be targeted sexually. Horrified, Stan realizes that his fears about prison life might be true. The man advises Stan to join one of the prison cliques, like the Nazis, racists, or specific ethnic groups. But Stan doesn't fit into any of these categories. The man's final advice is chilling. Stan should kill someone early on to scare off potential predators. The next morning, Stan wakes up hungover, realizing the bar conversation wasn't a bad dream. Mindy reminds him he's still going to prison but tries to cheer him up, saying he always finds a way to overcome challenges. Motivated, Stan decides to transform himself into an alpha male within the next 6 months. Stan throws himself into a rigorous routine. He exercises daily and even gets a tattoo on his behind to make himself less appealing to predators. Stan also joins a karate class, hoping to learn self-defense. However, he quickly grows impatient with the basics and challenges the instructor, leading to a fight with another student. After causing a scene, Stan is kicked out of the dojo. At his lowest point, Stan meets an eccentric old man known as the Master. The Master impresses Stan by punching a hole through a wall with ease. Seeing this as his last hope, Stan invites the Master to live with him and Mindy to train him in self-defense. Much to Mindy's annoyance, the strange old man moves in and starts an unconventional training program. On the first day, the Master wakes Stan at 5 a.m. by pouring animal liver blood on his face. He also insists that Mindy make a smoothie out of ox pancreas and horse tongues for Stan's breakfast. The training only gets weirder and more painful. The Master hits Stan with flaming sticks, suspends him by his skin, and makes him eat scorpions and snakes. Mindy grows increasingly frustrated with the Master's smoking habits and bizarre demands. Eventually, she gives Stan an ultimatum. Either the Master goes, or she does. One night, Stan stages a fake robbery to help Mindy understand the fear he feels when he thinks about prison. But when she realizes it's all an act, she's furious. Packing her bags, she tells Stan she can't stay with him anymore and leaves. The Master, however, is thrilled by her departure. Without distractions, he believes Stan's training can become even more intense. For the next 5 months, Stan undergoes grueling training sessions. Over time, he surprises the Master by holding his own in combat. As a final test, Stan returns to the karate dojo that once kicked him out. This time, he easily defeats the instructor, proving his skills. With his training complete, Stan feels confident and ready to face prison. On the day of his sentencing, the Master and Stan's lawyer drop him off at court. Mindy, although estranged, secretly watches from her car as Stan enters the courthouse. After his sentencing, Stan is transported to prison on a bus. On the ride, another inmate tries to touch him inappropriately, but Stan quickly fights back, showing off his newfound strength. At the prison, the inmates are greeted by Warden Gask. The warden, calm but stern, politely tells them not to cause trouble for the guards. However, he makes it clear that beyond that, they're free to do whatever they want to one another. The harsh reality of prison life hits Stan during the cavity check, where the new inmates are ordered to strip and bend over. When it's Stan's turn, the guards are horrified by his modified behind, which he intentionally made look unpleasant to deter predators. Afterward, Stan is assigned to his cell, where he meets his roommate, Larry. Right away, Stan asserts his dominance by ordering Larry to take the lower bunk. Later, Larry explains the dynamics of the prison. He points out the different groups: the Black Gang, a crew of Mexican thugs, a group of Nazis, and a clique of racists. He also mentions a group of scientists who intimidate others by talking endlessly about intellectual topics. Finally, Larry warns Stan about the most dangerous sexual predator in their block, Big Raymond. It doesn't take long for Stan to witness Big Raymond terrorizing a new inmate. Determined to make a statement, Stan boldly confronts Raymond in front of the entire prison. Using the self-defense techniques he learned from the master, Stan defeats Raymond with ease. His victory catches the attention of Patterson, the leader of the Nazi group, who invites Stan to join them. Instead, Stan surprises everyone by beating Patterson up too. Shortly after, Stan is approached by the African American group, who are angry that he fought Big Raymond. Trying to lighten the mood, Stan jokingly claims that he's also black. The group, however, doesn't find it funny. Their leader orders his men to attack, and another fight breaks out. Stan takes them all down effortlessly, while the guards watch the action, clearly entertained but refuse to step in. Following these incidents, Stan's reputation soars. The inmates start calling him Big Stan, and everywhere he goes, they move out of his way. Robbie, a younger inmate whom Stan saved from Big Raymond earlier, approaches him to express his gratitude. But Stan brushes him off, insisting that he only fought for himself. Later, Warden Gask summons Stan to his office. He reveals that Stan's placement in this prison wasn't random. The warden plans to take over the prison property to build a luxury estate and needs Stan's expertise as a realtor to review the documents for flaws. In exchange, Gask promises to release Stan after just 1 year. Intrigued, Stan agrees to help, though the warden refuses to share exactly how he plans to clear the prison of inmates. Meanwhile, the inmate groups decide to unite against Stan to teach him a lesson. One day, while Stan is showering, Patterson attacks him with a makeshift knife, crafted from a melted toothbrush and razor blade. Stan, prepared for anything, pulls out nunchaku he made from soap bars and a shoelace. Using his training, he quickly defeats Patterson, leaving him injured and sent to the hospital. Missing his wife, Stan contacts his lawyer to ask if she sent him divorce papers. To his relief, she hasn't. Feeling a renewed sense of hope, Stan begins working on the warden's project. During this time, he is introduced to Dang, a former Vietnamese mafia member turned politician who is Gasquet's partner in a scheme to sabotage the prison. While working, Stan overhears Gask and Dang discussing their plan. They intend to provoke inmate violence, forcing the guards to shoot several prisoners. This would give the prison board a reason to shut down the facility, allowing Gask to take over the land for his personal project. Shocked by the severity of their plan, Stan feels responsible for protecting the inmates, even though many of them resent him. Determined to act, Stan organizes a meeting with the inmates to set new rules and boundaries. First, he bans all violent video games and movies, calling them harmful influences. Then, he declares that sexual assault is now strictly forbidden, warning that anyone guilty of it will answer directly to him. The inmates initially push back, but Stan encourages them to explore consensual relationships instead. Although the idea is strange to them, they grudgingly agree. During lunch, Robbie and a few inmates thank Stan for implementing the no assault rule. Stan brushes off their gratitude, claiming it's just about maintaining control, but Robbie sees through his tough exterior. He recognizes that Stan genuinely cares about the well-being of the inmates. Even Big Raymond, once feared as the block's most dangerous predator, happily enters a consensual relationship with his new boyfriend, under Stan's guidance. The couple soon becomes part of Stan's growing circle of allies. Shortly after, Stan receives a letter from Mindy responding to his apology. She expresses her willingness to visit him, giving Stan hope for reconciliation. Over the next few days, the prison begins to change. Conflicts are resolved peacefully, and inmates frequently seek Stan's advice. Slowly but surely, the atmosphere in the prison shifts into one of unexpected harmony. One day, Mindy visits Stan in prison, and they share a heartfelt moment together. However, their time is cut short when Warden Gask storms into Stan's cell. Furious about Stan's influence over the inmates, Gasket accuses him of sabotaging their plan to destabilize the prison. Gask issues a chilling threat, warning that Dang will kill Stan if he doesn't follow their orders. The next day, Stan consults his lawyer, who advises him to cooperate with Gask, explaining that the warden holds significant power. Feeling defeated, Stan announces to the inmates that their problems are no longer his concern and tells them to return to their old ways. The harmony Stan built quickly unravels as fights break out, undoing all his progress. Robbie approaches Stan in the cafeteria hoping to talk some sense into him. Instead, Stan rudely throws Robbie's plate and tells him to leave. Even Larry, Stan's cellmate, is visibly disappointed by his behavior. When Larry tries to walk away, Stan stops him and warns him to stay clear of the metal fence at noon. Sensing that Stan is under duress, Larry informs the other inmates, and they begin to plan a response together. Warden Gask arranges a meeting between Stan and the parole board to discuss Stan's potential early release. While Stan is occupied with the board, Gask leads the prison's board of governors on a tour of the facility. His plan is to execute his violent scheme at noon, inciting conflicts among the inmates near the fence. The goal is to provoke a deadly response from the guards, allowing the governors to witness the chaos and justify shutting down the prison. During the parole board meeting, Stan intentionally acts like a terrible person, ensuring he is dismissed quickly. This allows him to rush out and warn the inmates to stay away from the fence. On his way to the yard, however, he's intercepted by Dang, who reveals that he too has been trained by the master. The two engage in an intense fight. Dang initially overpowers Stan with his superior skills, but Stan digs deep, drawing on his training to turn the tide. He ultimately knocks Dang out and continues toward the yard. By the time Stan arrives, the inmates have already gathered near the fence, armed and ready for a confrontation. The guards prepare to open fire, but just as tensions peak, the inmates surprise everyone by breaking into a choreographed dance to a lively Mexican song. The unexpected performance stuns everyone, leaving Gask fuming with rage. Frustrated and unable to regain control, Gask grabs a gun and fires wildly into the air, further alarming the board members. The board witnesses Gask's unhinged behavior and immediately decides to take action against him. Before Gask can retaliate against Stan, Mindy appears, stepping in to save him. It's revealed that Mindy has been training with the master for the past 6 months, mastering combat techniques of her own. Her skills allow her to protect Stan from Gask's wrath. The story then jumps 3 years into the future. Stan has completed his prison sentence and is finally heading home. As he prepares to leave, his fellow inmates gather to bid him farewell. Even Patterson, once his rival, shows his respect by revealing a tattoo of Stan's face on his belly, a tribute to the man who changed the prison dynamics. Outside the prison gates, Mindy and the master are waiting to pick Stan up. To his surprise and joy, Mindy introduces him to their 3-year-old daughter. The moment symbolizes their reunion and the new chapter in their family life, filled with hope and happiness.